Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the Waffles and Wives podcast. I am Alicia Miles, and I'm super excited about this episode and this topic and my guest. Today, I have with me Miss Tandra Hudson, and we're going to talk a little bit about the topic, I Got You, Boo, and what all that means and how we navigate those difficult moments in our relationships, our marriages, coupledom. Some of you have situationships that we're not going to get into tonight, but nevertheless, Miss Tandra, how are you
Hey, I'm doing good today. I like
today?
to put
Yes.
that on the end because I'm doing good today.
Okay. Well, tell us how we met. Tell everybody how we met, because I initially did not remember, because it
Uh-huh.
seems like we've known each other for a long time and like maybe since childhood, but we really haven't.
Right, right.
So
Yeah.
how do you recall how we ended up meeting and engaging with each other?
There's this guy, and his name is Demetrius, and I think you know him. Just joking, just joking. It's your husband. But at the time, my brother was graduating from high school, and you were doing, all the custom invitations and announcements, and he connected us, and then it just grew from there. And like you said, it just felt like we've known each other for such a long time.
It
And that
really does.
it's been about 10, 11 years now
It
though.
has.
Hmm.
Yes. So that wonderful man, yes, is Demetrius. We actually have been together for 23 years. Oh my
Long
God.
time. Long time.
23 years. We've been married for 17.
Hmm.
So how about you and Roger? How long have y'all been kicking it?
Well, we was kicking it for 10 years before we got married.
Okay.
So yes, it's a long time, but you know how you get with somebody, I get comfortable. And then I gave him an ultimatum because he would always talk about being married and all this stuff, and I didn't talk about it. And so I was like, look, I am turning 30. I said I have given you almost all of my 20s. I'm not gonna give you all my
Right.
30s. So you got 12 months.
Okay.
And so December
Ultimatum.
31st came. I didn't have my ring, and I told him it was over. And
Oh,
I did. And my sister was like, no, T, no, no, no. Come to find out, they had been looking for the ring, and the ring that he wanted to get me, he had to send it out for it to be sized.
okay.
And so I was just still like, nah, I'm good. But I didn't, we didn't break up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then just one night, we were at home, and it was like just on the couch watching TV. He like got up to go to the bathroom or something, came back, he just got down on one knee and he was like, will you marry me? And yes, I was like, oh my God, I went crazy.
Right. Those
But
are, to me, are the best proposals.
because I
The
wanted to,
unplanned ones like folks are doing now. Yeah.
because see, I wanted I want my family, my friends to be
Uh,
around.
no.
But in hindsight, it was perfect for him and his personality, who
Yes.
he is. So we got married in 2019, and March 9th of this year, we
Oh, see,
celebrated
you
4 years.
already getting it wrong. Talking about
I
some
know it, child. Hey, give me some grace. But no, it's been 4 years in March this year.
awesome,
Mhm.
awesome. So I'm gonna jump right into it because I do like to be mindful of people's time.
Mhm.
And so I really do appreciate you taking the time out to join me, my first guest. You are my
Oh,
first guest. And I'm so excited because when I started Waffles and Wives, it came from an idea of what somebody else had done, and something clicked, and it just said, "Okay, I think you really need to try to explore this," because I have been having and I think you were there. I
mhm.
have been having smaller events at
Yeah.
my house with
Mhm.
wives, and just talking and engaging. I was like, "Okay, I feel like this is really something bigger." And so I was like, I'm gonna keep trying. And I would get, steps back, steps forward. And I was like, okay, we're going to try something else. So that's how the podcast came about. And so what I want to do is just go ahead and jump right into our conversation. And the topic for today is I got you, boo. And I think about, marriages and how when we say that we really got somebody's back, what that really means. And if you are really truthful to that statement, because lo and behold, something happens in your marriage and you're like, I don't know what to do. And most of the time, we don't know what to do, but we stick it out and we make it work and we do whatever we have to do. I think you and I, on different spectrums, though, have dealt with illness in marriage, right? So the first thing I want to talk about, though, is how would you define for better or worse? For better or for worse in sickness and in health? I'm gonna start with for better or for worse.
For better or for worse?
For better or for worse, what to you when you took those vows, what did that mean to you?
For better or for worse, it meant to me like, whatever we go through, no matter what it is, um, in my mind with exceptions, that
Yeah.
we should be able to, go to God, stay with each other and work it out. Um, and I have been through the better and for worse, and now I'm in the sickness and in health.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it to me it just really means sticking and staying.
Mm-hmm.
When times get hard, it's easy to go and file papers and separate. I think it's easier. I mean, it's harder to stay together, in times of tribulation. Um, and so to me, it just means sticking and staying.
Yeah. And
That's
I
what it is.
agree with you. Right. And I agree with you because I think I wonder sometimes do people actually take vows seriously? And when you think about it, it's the wedding. And that's really what we're trying to get through is the wedding. And we say those vows, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, we're married now. What does all this stuff mean? And I
Mm-hmm.
don't know that a lot of people initially, I don't think you take it seriously until it actually happens. But to
Mm-hmm.
your challenge, like you said, when you go through those trials and tribulations and you have to stay together. Like you got to figure out how to stay together.
Yeah.
So when we talk about the other part of this, the in sickness and in health, for me, I know probably immediately after we got married, I started having various health issues, and it was literally 1 year after another. I was
Mm-hmm.
constantly being challenged with something. Some are like freak health issues, like they shouldn't really be happening to
Wow.
somebody my age. Or maybe a lot of it was just really rare and random stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of it was from my hard headedness, not doing what I was supposed to do. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
Um, but I think there's a difference, and you and I can kind of dialogue about this, but I think there's a difference when women are ill and
Mm-hmm.
how men respond and how men get ill and how we respond. So
Yes.
I'm going to start with, for me, from my perspective as a wife and being sick. For me, it was
Mm-hmm.
about not wanting to be a burden. Like I didn't want him to
Mm-hmm.
feel like he had to take care of me. So I was always calling my mama to come see about me and, making sure that he didn't have to worry so much. But
Mm-hmm.
really, that was what he was supposed to do. And when I
Mm-hmm.
got sick one time and I saw him sitting over in this hard ass chair in the hospital for hours and hours, I was like, oh God, I feel so bad. And I kept asking him, are you okay? Do you need anything? Are you hungry? And I'm the one laying in the hospital bed.
Right.
So I'm like, you need anything? You hungry? Do you want to go home and go to sleep? You ain't got to stay
Like,
up
what were
with
you
me.
gonna do about it?
Like, you ain't got to stay here. You can go home and go to sleep. I'll be all right. I can call my mama to come up here. He's looking at me like, what are you talking about? That's what I'm supposed to do. And I was like, I know, but still. And for me, I think that it was hard because I don't know, sometimes he knew how to respond
Mhm.
to certain things. And so I was always trying to rush myself to get healthy
Mhm.
faster than I should because I didn't want him to have to worry about whether or not he was doing anything right. Like,
Mhm.
you ain't gotta bring me chicken noodle soup. I'm all right. I mean, we can work this thing out.
Yeah.
I do feel like, men respond differently when we're sick versus how when they're sick. So can you talk a little bit about, and you don't have to, go into details, but can you talk a little bit about how the transition that you've experienced with your husband
Mhm.
facing an illness and how not how you respond. We'll talk about that in a second, but
Okay.
how his mental space
Mhm.
was affected because now I'm supposed to be the provider. I'm supposed to be the king. I'm supposed to be strong. I'm not supposed to get sick. I
Yeah.
think they respond to illness different than we do.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that first, and then we'll talk about how you as a wife responds to taking care of him.
Okay. Well, my husband is diagnosed with a terminal illness. Um, so when it first happened and we were in the hospital and all this kind of stuff, he was kind of more, I think, numb. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? More like trying to take it in. He didn't have a lot of reaction. He was just, doing what they asked him to do, and he was just present. You know what I mean? But he wasn't there. And then when we got home, it was kind of more like he was very apologetic.
Mhm.
Um, he kind of felt like he didn't want to be a burden. He
Mhm.
kept, I'm so sorry. I know you didn't ask for this. And
Mhm.
then when the financial part came, it was more like, I can't believe I'm doing this to you.
Mhm.
He felt very guilty.
Mhm.
Um, and then it went into the thing of a bit of depression, like I can't do the things that I used to do.
Mhm.
And then he felt helpless because a lot of things he could not do for himself anymore.
Right.
And it has gotten better. But he now more deals with the things like maybe that he can't do, because he was a truck driver. So now
Right.
outside of the terminal illness, he's has a vision issue, so he can't drive at all anymore.
Okay.
And so now he's more like, I can't hardly see, I can't, drive, I can't work, I can't do this, I can't do that. So he kind of deals with a lot of that right now, but it's something that we deal with every day, but he's getting better as far as his mental state.
So with so I like to think about it from the standpoint is that there's stages. You
Mm-hmm.
go through stages, and at first it does seem kind of okay, what just happened? Like, there is a shock aspect to it, and then
Mm-hmm.
there's I believe a depression and the guilt phase that comes with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because even when I went through infertility and trying to deal with that and being told, okay, there's a possibility to not having kids, so well, this is probably not gonna happen for you.
Mm-hmm.
There was always this like guilt for me. So there may not be any differences between how we respond to things. I mean, it sounds
Yeah.
about the same.
Yeah.
Because even for me, it was like, I'm sorry. You get a pop, I'm sorry. I wish I could have children. Just it was always me trying to appease the situation. And I guess it's
Mm-hmm.
no different for them.
Yeah.
Wonder though with men, when they get to a point where they can no longer do and they know that that is what we look for, they want
Mm-hmm.
to be able to provide. How have you been able to encourage him through that, knowing what and knowing what's going to happen,
Yeah.
and the things y'all might go through, but how have you been able to encourage him through those phases?
Um, the first thing I do, I always pray for him and with him.
Mhm.
And I just try to encourage him. Even little things that he do, whether it's like, he gives himself his medication or something. I'm so proud of you. You know what I mean? I'm still
Mhm,
very encouraging. I try to let him be as independent as he can.
mhm,
Um, I try to still, let him make the decisions that he can make.
mhm,
So I just encourage him, still trying to, make sure he feels like the head of the household, without taking his independence and not taking his manhood away. Like even those things that I know he can't do, if he wants to try them, I let him do that first. And then, hey, if you want me to help you, I can. And so sometimes he'll say yes, and then other times, no, I got it. I say okay. So it's just a lot of encouragement, reassurance of him,
mhm,
not letting him think that, that I am upset with him
mhm,
or I am mad at him.
mhm,
Because I'm none of those things. But it's just a lot of encouragement and reinforcement of, you're still the man, you're still
mhm,
my husband, that kind of
mhm,
stuff.
mhm. So let me ask you this then.
Hmm.
How have you been able to encourage yourself through everything? I heard the prayer. I heard, I'm pushing my bag, I'm doing
Hmm.
everything, but you would not sit there and tell me that there are days you like, you just have those moments where you're like, I don't know if I can do this, this is, and how do you, and I know you have a really strong family, right?
Hmm.
A supportive family. So we can take that off the table. I
Okay.
know them Dickersons coming through for Miss Tandra and Roger. I know it. I know it. So, but what do you do for yourself as a wife, knowing that you made these vows
Hmm.
and things go left real fast? How do
Hmm.
you encourage Tandra?
I'm still working on that. I don't know.
Mhm.
Uh, I just a lot of times I'm learning to give myself more grace.
Good.
Um, I'm trying to be more transparent with people about my feelings.
Gotcha.
Because I'm not an overly emotional person, and I
Mhm.
tend to like, keep my business to myself kind of person.
Correct. Mhm.
But I have learned in this season and going through this that I have to lighten the load mentally. I have to let people know.
Yeah.
Um, like prime example, I went into somewhere to get some food, and you know how they ask you, "Oh, hey, how are you today?" And I said, "I'm having a terrible, horrible, no good, very
Mhm.
bad day."
Mhm.
And I didn't elaborate like, "Oh, this is going on in my life," but it just felt good to like I don't
Yeah.
have to hold it at that moment.
Yeah.
Like whatever's going on, how I feel, I try to tell people. Um,
Yeah.
but like now, if you're talking about self care and things like that, I ain't got none of them coping skills right now.
Mhm.
Uh, because
Mhm.
there's always something going on.
Yeah.
But I try to carve out a little time for myself, to just be quiet, for things to be
Mhm.
still, because they always are moving, because I'm
Mhm.
also still working full time. So not only am I caregiving full time, but I'm working. So I have obligations at work, and so most of the time it's really late at night or early in the morning. And I mean early, I'm like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Mhm.
But I just try to find time to be still and be peaceful, like quiet.
Mhm.
But other than that, I'm still working on trying to find ways to, get my own coping skills and take care of myself.
Definitely. I think we need to do that regardless if we're going through anything major, though. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I don't think
Mhm.
that we should allow or say to ourselves that, oh, I'm gonna get peace when I get through this storm. No,
Yeah.
you can have peace during the storm too.
Yeah.
So I think it is important, and and it may take time because if
Mhm.
you're like me, um I gotta
Yeah.
keep going. Ain't no
Yeah.
time. Like I told you earlier, I would always like force myself to get better faster because
Mhm.
I've got to keep going. I got to keep.
Yeah.
But girl, let me tell you, I got tired of doing it. I was
Who?
like, I don't want to do
Honey,
any.
I just be
So,
like, let me take the cape off. It's like, but and then you also feel guilty as the caregiver, because if you like, okay, well, if I don't do this, everything's gonna fall apart.
Mm-hmm.
If I go out with my homegirls tonight, like who's gonna take care of him? What if something
Mm-hmm.
happens? Or
Mm-hmm.
I can't go away for the weekend because he needs me. Yeah, so you get into that and you feel guilty, and that's a lot of times where you don't take the time for yourself because
Yeah.
it's like it's my responsibility. If I don't do it, who's gonna do it? And somebody told me that I have to give people the chance to be there because
Yeah.
I can't do it all for myself. I can't do it all, and I am learning that as
Yeah.
I go, because the load is physically and mentally, a lot. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
learning to allow people to help me.
Because I think sometimes we have to realize too that if we're not taking care of ourselves and we're not
Mhm.
doing right by ourselves, like there may come a point where you'll ignore signs of illness of your own because
Yeah.
you put everything on the back burner. It's not about me, it's about my husband, it's about my children. And sometimes we ignore things, and by the time before we even know it, we see because we're
Yeah.
not paying attention to ourselves. And I do think we have to, you said the word give yourself grace. I think we do
Mhm.
have to get to a point where we say to ourselves, I deserve this. And I
Mhm.
think you will have to get to a point where it's like, okay, they can come sit with them for,
Yeah.
a few hours while I go get my feet done or if I need,
Yeah.
and I think he would appreciate,
Mhm.
you doing those things because he knows that you're helping him and putting in, hours of caretaking and things. I think, if we know our
Mhm.
husbands, that he would appreciate it if
He
you would look
would.
out. Yeah. So that leads me to us talking about how when you go through storms in your marriage, when you have these rocky phases, it's so quick now for people to just give up.
Yeah.
It's so easy to say, I don't want to do this. And they just like, wait a minute, hold on. We married.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Stop. Wait a minute.
You can't just walk out,
No.
and so I feel like I've seen marriages come and go, and I'm
Yeah.
thinking, oh my God, things that we've been through in our marriage, folks probably left in like 2 weeks,
Yes.
like, dang, so why we holding on? Because we made those vows, and we know
Yes.
that we have to work at what we do and how we treat each other. So
Mhm.
tell me this. Do you think that a lot of relationships, I won't say it's the number one reason, but do you think with some relationships that when things go bad,
Mhm.
people like to hit it and run? They don't
Yeah.
want to have to deal with it because it's too hard.
Yeah.
Like, what are your thoughts on it?
I think a lot of times people through social media and just growing up, we look at marriage as the wedding. You see the wedding,
Mhm.
the beautiful flowers and dresses, yada yada yada. But they're not listening and paying attention to the vows
Mhm.
because all those things in those vows are gonna happen. Like I always thought, I told somebody, you take the vows and it says in sickness and in health. You're thinking when you get old and gray and all
Right,
that kind of stuff. No, baby,
right.
it hit. That thing hit like a
Good
Mack
punch,
truck,
baby. Good punch.
like
It's
a
coming.
Mack truck. I was like, what? Not now.
Right.
But I think that a lot of people don't equip themselves with the tools prior to. I always tell people that I know that are about to get married, do marriage counseling, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
faith based or not faith based. Do marriage counseling because they're gonna give you a lot of tools that you guys can use to to stick and stay. I don't
Right.
encourage anybody to stay and you're getting whooped on, you get your head beat up,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. No, no,
Mm-hmm.
no, 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 no.
Yeah,
But
right.
little stuff, you know, just stick
Girl.
it out. Just talk to each other. Communication,
Mm-hmm.
I think, is a lot of why people don't stay together.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because times are gonna get hard. It's not gonna always be happy. It's not gonna always be roses. It's gonna be a lot of dark days. And if you are just thinking about the wedding, you ain't gonna never stay together. You shouldn't have got married if that's what you're looking forward to.
Right.
But I think a lot of people don't communicate as well as they should,
Right.
or they let things build up and then it explodes. And when it explodes, you say a lot of things that you can't take back. And
Yeah.
words hurt. You know what I mean?
Oh, most
Um,
definitely.
they really hurt. And I think that's a lot of what, when you get to a place where you're doing things and saying things, that cut too deep and you can't take them back. I think that's why a lot of people don't stay together
Can't take
either.
it back. You cannot
Hmm.
take it back. And um I think a lot of times what ends up happening is that we do deal with a lot of personal things, like you said, that we don't address. Like
Hmm.
I know one of the hardest things I had, and it didn't, and we had been married for years before I figured it out. But one of the hardest things for me was asking for what I wanted.
Hmm.
Really hard for me because I can get it myself. That was my mindset. I can do this myself. I don't need no man to do nothing for me. He's not even my husband. But asking for what I wanted, when I finally got to the point where I wanted to ask for what I wanted, he looking at me like, I thought you could do it by yourself. You ain't never asked me before today. You know, why now all of a sudden are you
Yes.
asking? I'm like, I should have, it's just stuff like, I mean, you learn as you go,
Yeah.
right? And there was one thing that you said when you came to one of the Waffles and Wise meetings that has stuck with me and stuck with me that I remember. And I have to remind myself when I get in situations. And you said these words: know who you marry.
Yes.
Girl, whenever I get into thinking like getting an argument, like I'm frustrated about something, I'm like, know who you marry. At least know who you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
So true.
ma'am.
Like you have to know who you marry because you can save yourself a lot of time and energy when you know who you're dealing with, right?
Yeah. Like I married a man who is not romantic, right? So I can't be mad at him when we don't do these date nights and elaborate trips and things like that because I didn't marry that man. I
Mm-hmm.
married somebody who was a bit more thoughtful, but he's
Yeah.
not romantic. So for instance, he knows I like turtle candy, right? So it may be a time he going to Walmart or whatever, and he just brings them back. That's thoughtful. But
Mm-hmm.
like I said, if I want to go on a date, I'm gonna have to plan that date and like, boo, we going such and such, and he
Right.
gonna be like, okay, but
Right.
he's not romantic, and I knew the man that I married, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think a lot of times we have to be mindful of that because a lot of times we get mad about the things that are not happening, but
Oh my God.
but
Yes.
is that in the wheelhouse of the person that you married? Like,
Mm-hmm.
were they doing that before marriage? And if they
Mm-hmm.
were, then y'all need to communicate to see what changed, what
Right.
happened. I tell people, um, whatever you do to get that person, keep doing it after y'all get married. Like, marriage is not just a goal; you gotta stay married. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, you just gotta know who you marry, honey.
Yeah, and that made me think about this question. Have you noticed even through the obstacles that y'all been going through lately, have you noticed that you guys have changed or have you picked because I've always believed that when people are sick,
Mhm.
that there's a side of them that might creep out because one, they're uncomfortable and they don't know how to deal with the situation either. And I feel like sometimes another person in there that's trying to, I gotta fight, I gotta fight against this, illness. I gotta fight against this, and so a different person emerges. Like, why are you so angry? But it becomes one of those things where it's like, okay, wait a minute, I gotta keep in mind you are not in the
Mhm.
same space you were 3 months ago, right? And so
Mhm.
there's a different mindset that occurs. But have you
Mhm.
found that you guys are changing in any way? Is it good or bad? I mean, how are y'all dealing with just the day to day of being compassionate to each other?
Mhm. Um, I think, as far as him, he's changing. Trying to be more cognizant of my feelings. Because throughout this process, there is times where I have been like, "Oh my God, I'm overwhelmed. Just like give me a minute," you
Mhm.
know. And he kind of uses kid gloves sometimes with me, you know, because what I found is that he's a bit more needy, you know, and not
Ah.
it. And yes, it's brought about the illness, but it's like, okay, he'll say, "Hey T, can you bring me this?" Sure. Like as soon as I do that, "Hey T, can you do this?" "Hey babe, can you do?" I'm like, bro, what do you need? Like you call my name 100 times, like
Right,
right to the bag. And I'm like, I need a minute, like come
right,
on. And so it's like I didn't, and because like even though we've been married, we've been together all this time. Like I said, he's been a truck driver, so it's never been like a full extended time
yeah,
where he's like at home every single day, nonstop.
right.
So you know, not that we have a problem being in the same space. That isn't it. But like I said, he's a bit more needy,
Mhm.
and I've been a lot independent
Yeah,
and not like, hey, like I don't have to do every single thing all the time. But
right.
now it's like I hear my name and I'm like, bro, don't call my name no more. Give me a minute. Like, no, he'll call my name, not just automatic. No.
Yeah,
He's like, I wasn't
yeah.
even gonna ask for
I leave me
anything.
alone.
Yeah, he's like, I wasn't gonna ask for anything.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think he uses more kid gloves with me,
Well,
and being more
definitely.
cognizant of my feelings, um, and he's in turn a bit more needy.
Yeah, and like I said, I think we find out more and more about each other,
Yes.
as we grow in our marriages, but as
Yeah.
things happen too, I think
Mhm.
we, figure out, okay, wait a minute, who is that? Who,
Yeah.
who are you? And we make adjustments, but that's
We
not a
do.
time to say, I don't like you no more. I don't love you
Yes,
no more. You
absolutely.
know what I'm saying? And you know how to make light of
Yes.
situations, and you
Yes.
know how he's going to respond in those situations. So being able to say, "Leave me alone. I ain't giving you nothing. Go get it yourself." I mean, he
Yes.
knows where that's coming from. It's no
Yes.
ill will for it because y'all know each other, right? So that
Yes.
I mean, but I've always wondered though, do and I feel like I've had the answer that yes, anytime we go through our own personal battles,
Mhm.
it's not uncommon for us to change, whether
Mhm.
it be for better or for worse.
Mhm.
We're gonna go through something in our life that sparks us to change. And like you said, him, acknowledging your feelings a little bit more. I think that is a way that we continue to grow in our marriages.
Mhm.
Um, I will say, from my perspective, one of the things I always worried about was I putting someone in a situation that they didn't ask for. He asked you that I didn't mean to
Mhm.
do this, I'm sorry, the apologies and that come along with it. But I always wonder, even now, I still have health challenges. I wear them well sometimes, but I go to day, I'm gonna have some type of struggle.
Mhm.
And sometimes I wonder, is he, is he tired of me talking about this? I'm always saying my head, something hurt. And so I guess to kind of, I don't know, my husband, so that this will make sense. He'll say, man, you just getting old. Just you just getting old. Stop. Ain't
Yeah.
nothing wrong with you. You get old now. But then he'll, respond sometimes and he'll say, how you feeling today? And that was
Mhm.
something that was, reoccurring earlier in our marriage because he didn't know, how to respond to
Yeah.
yeah. So now it's like, okay, she really is going through some stuff.
Yeah.
Let me ask her how she's doing. So I've seen us grow
Mhm.
really, really well over the years as we get older. I'm like, okay, you kind of cool. I like
I'm gonna
you.
keep you a little longer. Keep you a little longer.
I like you. But I think that makes me to ask the question, as you guys continue to grow in your man, you guys are younger than us, not by much, but
Mhm.
as you guys continue to grow, he will continue to have challenges and
Mhm.
you'll be faced with challenges. Will you make it an effort to find the roses, the petals instead of the thorns, as you guys continue to go through this?
Absolutely. And we try to do that now. When I say every day is rough, but it's not like we don't have, times of happiness and we don't
Mm-hmm.
laugh.
Mm-hmm.
We laugh and we joke every day. And that's part of what, that's one of our things, we laugh a lot together.
Mm-hmm.
We like, you know, corny show. Well, I like corny shows. And then, I get him to watch them with me, and now he's to, I missed the episode last night. What happened? He gets into the things. I think we're learning more to, you know, combine the things that we like. Um, and, we just try to do things that make us happy in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that be like, he wants me to sit outside with him
Mm-hmm.
outside in the garden, and then, I don't like that, but I do that for him. I do that for him. And like I said, he don't like to watch the Lifetime,
Right.
and I love to watch the Lifetime.
Right. Right.
So it's just things that you can find that you like to do together, um, to keep that connection.
Mm-hmm.
And because like with us, there's a lot of things that we can't do anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there is some grief that goes along with that. But we try to make every day a good day. Laugh, we joke, that kind of stuff.
Good, 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 good. I'm glad to hear that. I'll tap in every now and then to ask you how y'all doing,
Yes,
because I just can't imagine having to, make a quick transition. Like it happened and y'all just had to go into survival mode. Like we gonna get
yes,
through this, we gonna make this work. Like this is not gonna defeat us. Like, and I'm like, okay, let me check in and make sure.
yeah. Cause it's like it literally happened like that. Like he went to a doctor's appointment one day. The next day they got his labs back. They were calling me, taking him immediately to the emergency room. We spent 10 days in the emergency room. That was Christmas, my birthday, and New Year's in the hospital. He
Mm-hmm.
got out, and I got a second job. So now I'm trying to figure out how to take care of him, how to go to work on my full time, how to go to work
Mm-hmm.
on my part time, which was overnight. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like I'm trying to like make sure he's good. I'm trying to make sure we keep the things that we have established
Right.
and not like lose my whole mind. Like
Mm-hmm.
I know for 3 months straight, like every day I was crying, and that ain't me. Like I'm talking
Mm-hmm.
about sometimes I'm just going in the bathroom. I have this whole nervous breakdown. I come back out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, boom. I got my cape back on. What do
Mm-hmm.
you need? What can I do?
Mm-hmm.
Um, it it has been a whirlwind.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, things as we're going along, it has eased up. We know how to more manage our feelings.
Good.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
which in turns help us to deal with what he's going through better. Um, and now it's more of like I said, we're just trying to learn how to go with the transition.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so that's where we are. It did happen fast. It wasn't anything that we knew about, so you didn't have time to prepare. And like you said, we
Right.
did go into survival mode.
Right. Right.
But we're kind of coming out of survival mode and more of like a maintenance kind of thing.
Good.
Okay, like we
Okay,
know what's
good.
going on now. Let's keep doing what we can do and to try to, make the situation better.
Good, 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 good. Because I like that we're having this conversation because I don't want people who are thinking about marriage to think that the only problems you'll have is him cheating on you or you cheating on him. Like that ain't even the biggest, in my opinion. It's much more worse things to be worried about. Um,
Honey,
yeah,
yes.
listen. I mean, think about it. We everybody, every marriage I know of has gone through financial hardship. We don't went through all kinds of emotional ups and downs. I feel like when you
Yeah.
make a decision to we gonna ride this thing till the wheels fall off, when you make up your
Mhm.
mind that this is how I want my marriage to be and I want to set an example for my family, that's a big thing for
Mhm.
me. Like we need to show that marriage is
Absolutely.
gonna work. You know what I mean? And I didn't
Yeah.
have a frame of reference. I didn't know what it
Mhm.
looked like. I had no clue. No, I didn't grow up in a household with a married
Mhm,
couple. And so it was
mhm.
like, okay, what am I supposed to do? Be married. Like, what am I supposed to do? I don't know what this is.
Right.
But you figure it out. And like I love
Yeah,
how
you do.
you guys have figured it out. Like, of course, this
Mhm.
was not the expectation. This was not, but like you said, it was like, I mean, we gotta do what we gotta do.
Yeah.
Really what
See, and I did grow up with a frame of reference. I come from a two-parent home. He does not.
mm-hmm.
So we had to, not that it was ever a big issue at all, but we had to learn how to come together as a couple and what our marriage looked like,
Yes.
and so you see those things like, oh, couple goals. Like, I ain't got no couple goals besides my mom and dad.
Girl, I
You know
don't
what I
want
mean?
y'all couple goals.
No, no, no.
Nope.
Uh, if I was gonna model it after anything, it would have been my mama and dad. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They've been
Yeah.
married for 40 years, and yes,
Yes.
they've been through things. Not like, I don't know, you know, personally what they've dealt with, and never said anything to us
Mm-hmm.
about, but the things
Mm-hmm.
that we did see, it's about being financials and death, and
Mm-hmm.
my
Mm-hmm.
daddy being in the military and he been
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
So, my mama being a single parent but married, so I've
Right.
seen
Right.
all of that, so I did have that frame of reference, and I knew that once I got married, it's gonna be one time.
Right.
It ain't no divorce unless those, exceptions happen. And I I just always want to know. I mean, I always knew that when I got married, it's gonna be that one time we gonna rock with whatever we got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got you. I got you. I feel the same way. So tell me this as we try to round, wind down our conversation, even though I don't want to start talking. I could talk all night, but I
Okay.
wanted
Okay.
to kind of get your through everything, that y'all have gone through within the last 6 months or so. What
hmm
have you learned about yourself?
I've learned that I do not like to be called strong.
Oh,
Um,
Tandra, yes.
I kind of feel like right now it's a insult. It's
Mm,
because it's like when you tell somebody they're strong, it's like you don't allow that person to let go. You
mm,
don't allow them to have those vulnerable moments.
mhm.
And so when somebody says that, I know it's not from a place of an insult,
Right, right,
but
right.
it's like, oh, please don't say that, because it makes you go into the guilt again when it's something that you can't do,
Mhm,
or I'm having a moment. It's like, how dare you how
mm,
dare you're in here crying and your husband over here dealing with this and y'all can't do nothing about it. Like, but I don't want to be strong in that moment.
right.
Sometimes I need to let go. Sometimes I just need somebody to hug me and so I can let it
Right.
go. But if I always have to be quote unquote strong,
Yeah,
it sucks. It hurts.
yeah, yeah,
And so I have found that I don't like to be called that. Um, I have learned that I need to get into that. I'm getting in tune more with of my feelings, voicing what I need, and what I want,
yeah.
especially that I need help,
Mhm.
um, because not only him being sick and he don't want to be a burden to me, I don't want to be a burden to anybody else. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Especially your
good
support
point.
system,
Mhm.
because it's like, hey, can you take him to this appointment? You ain't got but a few times for somebody to be like, yeah, I got it, and then it like, damn, y'all gotta go to another one, like,
Mhm. Yeah,
so I have to learn how to let people help,
yeah.
and so those are the kind of things that I'm learning about myself.
And it's something, and then to piggyback on what you just said, the problem that I have is I don't want my husband to help me. I have always been so super independent that
Hmm.
I've done everything on my own. That when he says you need any help with anything, what you think I say?
No, I got it.
I got it.
Where do you think that comes from?
I don't know. It's like
Is
it's
it
really
is it like not growing up with your two parents together and you saw mom have to be strong?
I wonder sometimes if that's where it comes from because my mom is like the epitome of I'm taking care of my family, and she did
Mm-hmm.
it so well that she, raised two of the most well-equipped children from a single parent home. I've never, and that's with anybody. It's not just my husband, it's with anybody. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you call and say, Alicia, like people who wanted to support the podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll go, do you need some help? I can, no, I got it. I'm good. I've always been that person when in fact, I know I don't have it all together. Like, yes, I need some help, but I just can't tell. Like,
I
but I've also developed this thought process that if I don't do it, it won't get done right.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's more or less what it is of, you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned being able to let go and letting people take care of your husband with you. It's like well, ain't nobody gonna take care of my baby like me,
Yes.
and I know I got it. He got right.
Yes.
Take care of it. But when in fact you really want to say, yeah, I need to
Yeah.
go take a bath. Can
Because
you
it kind
come?
of feels like if it sometimes it feels like okay, if I let them do it and then they don't do it right, then I gotta go back and do it again or da 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 da. It's like, but
They're not
whatever
gonna
they
want to
do,
do it again. Yeah.
just like whatever they do, let it be. But it's hard if
Yeah.
because I know you got a type A personality like me. It's hard to let people do
Yeah.
the things that you know you want done
Well,
and
it's
how you want
crazy
them done.
because I don't know if you remember like a couple months ago, and it probably has been longer than that. While I asked my husband to straighten out one of the cabinets in the kitchen. And I was like, okay, that's his definition of straightening the cabinet. And girl, do you know I was proud of myself because I left it that way as long as I could. I was like, no, I gotta
Hey,
clean this out. But yeah, I think one of the things I am learning though, one of the first things that I want to say is recognizing that you do have flaws and things that you're doing that are not contributing to having a healthy marriage.
yes,
Being able to acknowledge that, hey, it ain't him most of the time, it's me. And being able to say to yourself, well, let me get myself together before
yeah,
I start blaming and telling him, okay, you didn't do this right, yada, yada. That's how we do.
yeah, yeah,
Do
yeah.
this. But being able to say, you know what, I changed the rules because now I need your help. And you're like, sit back like
You ain't need my help before.
because I set the precedent early
Yeah,
that I was going to do it myself. And
yeah,
so now I have to get to a point where I change how I communicate with him on things that I need. And it's not that he doesn't want to do it. Absolutely not. That's not the issue. It's never been an issue. It's me being able to accept the help.
yeah,
And so that is really hard. And when you said that earlier, I was like, dang, this is a different situation, but it's the same type of vibe where you're like, I don't need no help. I got this. Well,
yeah.
I really do need help. Like,
Honey,
please
you be
help
needing
me.
all the help, and you
Hey,
just
please
like,
help me, please.
and then
Yeah.
also it makes you feel like one, it's hard to be vulnerable,
Mm,
and because sometimes you have the feeling like, okay, do people really want to help or they just want to be in my business? And then, cause I think a lot of times we overthink it in our head. Okay, so they want to be in my business. Okay, oh,
mhm,
so are they really gonna help me, or are they just helping me because it's pity, or it's just all these things that go into it.
mhm.
Instead of just letting the people help you, you know what I mean?
It's
Just
like,
like,
girl, it ain't no but an hour. Right,
yeah,
right. Yeah, I
it's
totally
hard.
agree. I think it's really hard. I think um one of the things that I would say that I've learned about myself just in general going through the things that I've had to go through. I think one of the hardest things for me was coming to a place where I had to be okay with not having kids. That
Hmm.
was the absolute hardest thing for me was getting to a point like, okay, this is not gonna happen, and not feeling guilty about that. And he has never made me feel guilty about that. But when you think about those types of challenges, whether it's illness, whether it's infertility in marriage, whether it's financial difficulty, whatever it is,
Mhm.
really gotta weigh that stuff out. It doesn't last long. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? In my opinion, I feel like we will always constantly have things coming at, we're gonna have things coming at us, but we have to get to a point where we understand that all those things are meant to either make us better or, at least help us see the bigger picture when it comes to
Mhm.
certain things. Like we really
Yeah.
realize some stuff is just really petty.
Yeah, and I think when people get sick too, um, you grieve things that you don't have or you weren't able
Mhm.
to do.
Mhm.
Because Roderick and I were older when we got married, and we don't have children either.
Mhm.
And so, I always tell people, oh, if I have children, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't, and I'm okay with it.
Mhm.
But now being in this season and knowing that 9 times out of 10 it won't ever happen,
Mhm.
you grieve that, you
Yes,
know, you
you do.
grieve that I may not ever have a child,
You do.
and not from the standpoint like, I don't know whether I can or not, you know what I
Right.
mean? But or whether he can or not, but because of his illness, more
Yeah.
than likely we cannot,
Right. 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 Right.
and so you have to learn how to be okay with those things, and not being able to take those anniversary trips,
Mhm.
or always having to rearrange your schedule. You grieve the things that you can't do while a person is still here. It's very
Mhm.
hard to do. But you just have to take day by day.
Right. And I know that for me, you are absolutely right. You grieve it.
Hmm.
And I remember girl, I was sitting on the floor playing with the dog.
Hmm.
And I don't know what happened at that moment, but I just started crying. And I was like, what the heck is this about? Like, why am I crying? And then it dawned on me that that was always one of the things that I wanted to have was a dog, a kid, the whole,
Hmm.
big family type of thing. And it just hit me at that moment. And some might have been on TV that triggered it too. But I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, this isn't gonna happen. But
Hmm.
we honestly have become much stronger
Hmm.
in knowing that, hey, yeah, this isn't something that was for us, and that's
Hmm.
okay.
Yeah.
That it's okay. It's not, we're gonna live. It's all right.
Hmm.
Um, but I do wonder sometimes, there's always that thought, I
Yeah.
wonder what if, or could this. So yeah, you do. I definitely agree with you. You do grieve what can't have anymore, what is not gonna happen. So that does happen.
Hmm.
Um, just so we can kind of wrap things up, I wanted to kind of get your feedback on if you could tell a bride.
Hmm.
Now, let me rephrase that because bride to me is only for one day, but I know
Yeah.
that there's some biblical context to the word bride, but I'm gonna leave
Right.
it for another episode. But if you could tell someone who desires to be married, let's put it that way, somebody who desires to be married, they want a husband, they want a married life, they want a very sustainable and healthy relationship.
Hmm.
Um, if you could, if there was something that you know now that you didn't know then, what would that thing be?
Mm, probably know that that's well. If you're talking about just a single person and they desire
Yeah,
to be
just
married, you have to know who you are outside of a another person or relationship. You have to know who you
good.
are.
Yes.
You don't have to settle for things.
Hmm.
Know what your non-negotiables are.
Good.
If you know that you want children and this person has told you before that you guys are married that they don't want children, that may not be the person for you.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? Because you can't say, okay, well, maybe I'll change my mind. That may not ever happen. And now you want children, he does not, and now y'all stuck together. So, that's why I say know your non negotiables,
Okay.
know who you are as a person, the things that make you happy, and learn to be flexible.
Mm,
A lot of us are stuck in our ways. or
Yeah.
we expect these things to go this way and these things to happen. Learn to be flexible.
Good. Good.
Um, I think that would be about it. Every day ain't gonna be sweet.
Mm-hmm.
It's not all sunshine,
Nope.
but it's worth it with the right
Oh,
person. It is definitely worth it.
it is definitely.
Um, because you hear a lot of people, oh, well, a piece of paper don't matter. A piece of paper does matter
In
because
this case, it
I,
does.
because I ain't want to be no special friend in no obituary.
Right.
And now, and because we had been together so long, I can't imagine us being married, not being married. This happened, and then I can't make
Hmm.
no decision.
Girl.
Child,
What?
that's another topic for another day.
Right.
But that
Yeah,
piece of paper does matter.
it does.
Um,
Gotta.
so be decent and in order. You know, and singleness is not like a crime. Like, be single and be happy.
For
You
as
know,
long as you can.
honey, like live
Hmm.
your life, be outside. You know what I mean? Because you can still do those things and be married, but it's
Hmm.
gonna be different. You
Hmm.
do have somebody that you are accountable to. Um, however y'all set your relationship up to, whether you have to answer to another person or something, but yeah, it ain't just gonna be you. So when you do
Hmm.
get married, just understand things will change a bit, but enjoy your singleness, live your life, all that kind of stuff. But know who you are, know your non-negotiables, and be flexible.
Yeah, I like those. I like those. Because I know that when I got married, I didn't require a whole lot. I didn't know what to ask for. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? Like I just figured he would know.
Right. Like, you the man, like you should know. They can't read
No,
our mind.
no,
They
that's
can't
not
read.
how it works. That's how it works. It's like you don't know that. Like what is
No.
it? Like you
And
can't.
I have found that men are very, like, more concrete. Like, if you say you want to go, that's what we're gonna do. But that's what we're gonna go. But I ain't like, if you don't tell them extra, it won't
Don't
be no
you
extra.
gotta tell them.
You gotta tell them everything. If you say I want a purse for Christmas, but you don't like Michael Kors, and he come with a Michael Kors bag, now you mad.
Yeah, you
Like,
mad.
hey, I
You
want
should
this
have said I want a
brown.
Michael Kors bag
I want
or
this
I want a
brown
Gucci.
Grumman
Yeah, yeah,
bag for Christmas. I'm
yeah.
gonna send you the picture. I'm gonna see the aisle in the store where it is. Because if you don't give them details, they ain't gonna know.
They don't. They don't.
So they don't know. So you know
They
that goes back to what I
don't.
said. Know who you married. Know who you married.
No. Yes, ma'am. No, you married because they're not gonna they don't get
No,
you have
no.
to tell them like, yeah, it's red, it's got the gold straps on it, it's got this pink rose on it or
Yeah.
something. Tell them.
Send them the picture. They're gonna always
Yeah,
get you through. Send them the picture.
yes, for sure. You gotta help them out. You gotta help them out. And they will appreciate that because the less
Yeah,
they gotta think about it, it makes it so much
yeah.
easier for them. So
Because
yeah,
I know one time I said, okay, like I said, my husband is not romantic, right?
mm-hmm,
So I'm
mm-hmm.
like, okay, Valentine's coming up. I ain't gonna say nothing. I ain't gonna say nothing. And
Yeah,
I ain't get nothing. Cause I ain't say what I wanted.
you didn't say what you want.
When I say I was 38 hot, I was like, but you know me. We've been
Right.
together all this time.
Mm-mm.
He was like, but
No.
you ain't say you wanted something though. And
Mm-mm.
I'm like, what are you talking about? So that's why I have learned,
Yes.
when I
Yes.
want something, I
Mhm.
need to go ahead and tell them, or it ain't
You
gonna
need to
happen.
tell them. You gotta tell them. Like they no to me, and this is a good way to close because
Mhm.
that's how the concept of waffles and wives came about
Mhm.
because men really are compartmentalists. They
Mhm.
do everything. Okay, you want me to mow the grass. Okay, I'm gonna take the mow the grass off the shelf and bring it down on mow the grass. Then once I'm done with the grass, I'm gonna put it back.
Yeah.
And that's it. They
Yeah.
don't think about, okay, I can go ahead and trim the hedges. I can go ahead and pressure wash the driveway. Oh, I can go ahead and wash the cars. That's how women think. We
Yes.
think complexity, they think simplicity.
Yes.
And when you look at the waffle, it's in compartments because they're
Hmm.
only going to go to the compartment that they need at that time. So
Yes.
when you ask your husband or your spouse or whomever, what's on your mind, and they say nothing,
Hmm.
nothing. They're not
Yeah.
thinking about anything because
Yeah.
at that moment, if he's watching TV, then that's what he's thinking about. If it's a
Absolutely.
football game, that's what he's thinking about. But I promise you, he ain't thinking about, okay, I gotta go home and take the meat out because I gotta, cook for. They don't. It's
That's us.
whatever is on their mind at that time. That's
Yeah.
all you go get. Which is
Yeah.
why we always say, well, don't you remember when we had this conversation about? And they're like, because they
Hmm.
don't. They don't.
Yeah.
They really don't. But
It's
that's
just like when they leave somewhere and they might get them something to eat. They might not always think about us because they in their mind it's not like, I don't know whether she ate or not. Should I give her
they don't
something just
think they is
because? But then when you get them to understand, like, hey, if you want to get you something to eat, make sure you call me.
yes.
Like, let
Do
me
that.
tell you, no, I'm good, or yes, I want something.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how I look at our kind of relation. This is not the first time it's been talked about, but men
Hmm.
really do process things differently. And
Hmm.
so that's why when this topic came about, I thought about how even in sickness and in health for better or for worse, they will always process experiences differently than we will, because I guarantee you that what you're experiencing with his illness, there are going to be some similarities, and then he'll have his own experiences with his illness, and they'll maybe
Yeah,
things he won't even talk about. You know what I
yeah.
mean? He may not express. And then you have what you guys can collectively agree on that you
Hmm.
both are experiencing. And then you'll have your reference.
Yes.
Okay, this is what I'm feeling. But we always meet somewhere in the middle, right?
Yeah.
That's what marriage is about. We're going to meet somewhere in the middle. Like, we still have to be individuals, but we will figure out a way to, make it work. And
Absolutely.
sometimes we have to figure out how to open our mouths, like you said, and communicate and express, what we're feeling.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's a lot of what has helped us, along this journey. We talk a lot, and I don't like to talk to him like a child, but I be like, use your words, like, what's up, like,
Yeah.
because he could be looking crazy, and I'm like, what's wrong, and he's like, and I be like, use your words, like,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
what's wrong with you, like,
Yeah.
because I'm more of a let's take action, let's get it taken care of. And he more like he muses over things like, oh, I don't know, I'll think
Yeah.
about it. I'm like, bro, that ain't gonna work for me. Like,
Yeah.
I need a decision.
I
Like, what you
need to
gonna
hear
do?
from you. Yeah. I need to hear from you. And I think we went through that when I had to make a decision because I had to have a procedure
Hmm.
last July that was pretty much gonna put the nail in the coffin on whether or not I tried to have children, and she
Hmm.
wouldn't do it until I talked to my husband.
Hmm.
And she was like, well, I made the decision right there in the office. She was like, I was like, man, I'm about to be 45 years old. I'm good. I'll find somebody child. And then that's how,
Right.
I found somebody child, say, hey, this okay. She was like, no, I really want you to talk to him. She, he might feel differently. I was like, I promise you, he don't feel different. So I came home that day. I didn't break my stride. As soon as I hit the door, I was like, look, the doctor want to know if you okay with not having children. And I
Right.
asked him, I said, you want to get pregnant? And he looked at me like, lost your, have lost your mind. I
I
was like,
can see his face.
and I kept on moving. So I think, so it's like, yes, we need to talk about these things. But I was willing to just risk it all without him, like, well, this is what it is. But
Yeah.
she was right. You do need to talk to him about it because it's not just your life that's going to be affected by the decision. So you
Yeah.
do need to have a conversation. And I said, I did it.
Yeah.
But I already knew the I already knew the answer. But she was like, just do it for me.
Yeah,
Just
we have to
ask.
communicate and have those hard conversations
Yeah.
because on December 23rd, the heart is conversation I had to have like in the moment was, it's like, where you want me to send your body? You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
do you want to go here? Do you want to go there? And it's
Mm-hmm.
like we were just talking about what we're gonna eat. Now I got to talk
Right.
about death plans. Not that we've never talked about them before,
Correct. Correct.
but this like could be happening any
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
Like it could be happening today, tomorrow. Like to
Right.
have that conversation in a hospital, in the emergency room, and you, the person is still trying to come to terms of what's going on,
Right. Right.
and you gotta talk about the end that
That's
ain't
the
here yet.
hard stuff.
Hard conversation to have with
Hard
somebody,
conversations.
you
Yeah.
know. So that's why you gotta communicate with each other.
You
You know
do.
what I mean? You just gotta have those hard conversations. They ain't pretty, they ain't nice, but you gotta have them.
And I think you have to really get comfortable with having those types of
Hmm.
conversations as well. You can't,
Absolutely.
so you can't shy away
Hmm.
because you're the one who who's uncomfortable with it. Like
Yeah.
it's just something that has to happen. And you
Yeah.
do have to have those types of conversations that are going to be uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, we all have to have those conversations. So yeah, so I think that this was really good. This is a
Hmm.
really yes, man. I'm really, really, really happy that you decided to join me. I'm looking forward to continuing to hear your story. I'm gonna keep
Hmm.
checking up on you um to see if y'all are doing all right. And you're free to tell me no, I'm not. Then I think you
Yeah.
have. I think
Uh-huh.
you have when you said no, today's not a good day. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I don't really know the words, but I got you.
Yeah.
I understand. So um that's the reason why I wanted to have this conversation is because like you said, these are the hard things that we have to talk about. When we talk about, for better or for worse, the sickness and in health, those are serious vows and you have to mean them and you have to stand by them.
Yeah.
And it's not gonna always be easy. I mean, we could say that, everybody doesn't go through even half the stuff that we've had to experience in a short amount of
Yeah.
time, right? But, be prepared,
Yeah.
be prepared for the fact that, hey, am I equipped to
Yeah.
handle, when we start having problems, how am I gonna handle it? And just like I
Yeah.
think if you can talk about it early enough in the
Yeah.
marriage. Hey, I don't do well in these types of situations. Knowing who you marry, like we said,
Yeah.
I think those are very key points. Is there anything that you would like to say to end with? Any type of encouragement, any type of just advice? Is there anything that you would like to, say as we say goodbye
Mhm.
to each other?
Well, I would like to say, just from the beginning of Waffles and Wise, in your living room at your house, to going to the bigger crowd and now to the podcast, this is a wonderful platform that you have created, because I think a lot of times we're not as open and free as Wise, because, we have to put on a certain persona as a wife. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah,
And so I just really applaud you for, creating these spaces. Just to give you your flowers while you're still here. Not only have you created this wonderful space, but you're a wonderful person. And like you said, just those random texts, you good, you okay? Those, when you're going through something like that, those mean the world, because
yeah.
I've gotten those messages, and I mean, I've been having a horrible day. Prime example, I got a message, I'm proud of you, from somebody. And I mean, I just went into it, woo,
Oh yeah,
so
yeah,
do that for your people.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Even if you don't know anything they may be going through, check on your people. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Stay encouraged. That's it. I just want to thank you for having me. Um, and I didn't cuss. I'm so proud. So I can let my mama see this. I can let my mama see this.
I most definitely will. I think I'm super excited and I'm glad that you
Mhm.
agreed to have this conversation with me. I didn't know if it was going to be a difficult topic, but when I thought about the topic, I knew that I wanted it to be you to have
Mhm.
it with me because I knew that you would, you will find the space to, or find a way to be
Mhm.
as authentic as possible,
Mhm.
without compromising your marriage.
Yeah.
If you know what that, if that makes
And
sense. Like,
I talked to him
mhm,
about it, you
yeah.
know. I said, I'm gonna be in this, you know, let me tell you about I didn't ask him how he felt about me doing the podcast. I'm
Mhm,
like, I'm gonna do this podcast and this is what we're gonna be talking about.
mhm,
And I said, you know, I ain't gonna put your business on there, nothing like that. I said,
uh-huh,
but
uh-huh.
what you feel about it? He was like, do what you gotta do. Like, I'm
Yeah,
cool. So,
yeah,
you know, he allows me to be me, you know,
yeah.
my corny, joking self. And so I like that and I enjoy that. And I'm glad that, you know, I have a partner that can allow me to be that
Mhm,
way, you know.
mhm.
I didn't have to change anything about myself to be married. That's
Yes,
another thing. You shouldn't have
yes.
to change who you are to be married to somebody. If you find yourself you doing most of the compromising, changing, you
Mhm.
know, you might want to evaluate the situation. And a lot of things we see before we get married. We can be honest.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of things we
Sometimes
see
we end up
before we get
ignoring
married.
it,
Yeah, you know,
knowing
a lot of these
full,
things we see beforehand. If
knowing
we could
big
kind of like
doggone well.
tackle those things beforehand,
Yeah.
if we could tackle these things beforehand, you know, it
Right,
could be a
right,
lot
right.
better.
Well, I
But
am,
yeah,
you good?
that's it.
I
Hmm.
am, I am going to definitely keep you guys in my prayers. I
Okay.
pray for the best outcome possible. I'm going to, try my best to always claim victory, even with doubt. Always claim victory over the
Mhm.
situation. We don't know what that victory looks like,
Yeah.
but whatever it is, we're gonna claim it. And
Amen.
so I really thank you for joining me. The very first episode, which probably will be this one, because I think it was really good. The very first episode of the Waffles and Wise podcast is going to drop on July 30th. So I will definitely keep you in the loop on how we move and what we're doing. I'm hoping this catches fire because I'm really excited about it. And once again, I really, really, really appreciate you joining me. And I wish you guys the best. And I will definitely keep dropping those. I'm thinking about you text messages. But
Thanks.
hopefully we'll talk again soon. There may be another opportunity for us to get together, and I'll keep you posted.
Well, please do. Anytime you need me to come on, grace your show, I'll do that. But thank you so much for all you've done. I really greatly appreciate it.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. Hold on one second for me, okay? All right.
Okay.